Leora walked quietly along the wide trail that crossed the red plains of New Mesa, a young human colony far from Earth. The sky above her was large and open, shining in soft shades of rose and gold. 2 moons hung overhead like watchful eyes keeping the world company. The wind rolled gently across the desert grass, brushing her small cheeks like a friendly hand. Everyone said New Mesa was wild and rough, but to Leora it was full of quiet beauty too. She had learned to notice beauty even in difficult places. Her father had taught her that. He was a kind man with warm eyes and hands that always smelled faintly of clean metal. He helped build the great water pipes that ran under the desert floor, carrying life across the colony. Leora remembered how he would lift her high on his shoulders so she could see the long horizon stretching on forever. He always said, "A horizon means possibility." She had believed him, and she believed him still, even now that he was gone. After her father's passing, she was given into the care of her stepmother Mara. Mara was not unkind in words, but she did not know how to care for others with patience. She liked comfort and did not like hard work. She had come to New Mesa hoping to live an easy life, and the desert trails did not offer such things. The journey had worn her down, slowly, quietly, like sand wearing away at stone. They had been traveling with a group of settlers, all heading toward the fertile western region. The ground there was said to be soft enough for farming, and the wind gentle enough to build small towns. But supplies had grown fewer with each day, and every morning felt longer than the last. The settlers handled the struggle with the same steady spirit humans were known for, but Mara did not carry that spirit. One afternoon, when the heat was especially bright and the trail stretched empty in every direction, Mara stopped her hover horse near a low ridge. The machine's metallic legs folded quietly as she climbed down. Leora followed, holding her father's star compass, a small round device that glowed faintly, pointing not north or south, but toward the nearest human settlement. "We will rest here," Mara said, though her eyes did not look restful. They looked tired, worried, and a little afraid. Leora sat in the shade of a red stone, setting her bag beside her. She waited for Mara to speak again, to say what was troubling her. The silence was long, the kind of silence that feels heavy. Finally, Mara said softly, "I will go ahead and find help. I will return soon." Leora looked up at her. She wanted to believe her. She always wanted to believe people. "I'll wait for you," she said calmly. Mara nodded quickly, too quickly. She climbed back onto her hover horse and rode forward along the trail. Leora watched her until she was only a tiny moving shape, and then a dot, and then gone. The wind was quiet. Some children might have cried. Some might have run. Some might have felt anger in their heart. But Leora did none of those things. Instead, she held the star compass in her hand, feeling the warm little hum it always gave. Her father had given it to her during their last walk together. He had placed it in her small hands and said softly, "When you feel alone, remember that humanity leaves footprints. Follow them and you will find someone." So Leora sat on the ridge, steady and calm. She waited for someone to find her or for her to find herself again. The sky above her was wide and endless, but she did not feel lost. She felt small, yes, but small like a seed is small, not weak. Seeds grow, hours passed. The shadows stretched longer. The sun slowly bowed toward evening. Then, at first so soft it was almost part of the wind, came the sound of something approaching. A deep rhythmic whir and hum, like footsteps but smooth and mechanical. Leora looked up. A tall hover horse came into view, silver legs gleaming in the golden light. On its back sat a man dressed in travel-worn clothes, with dark boots and a coat dusted red from the plains. His hair was swept back by the breeze, and his eyes were quiet and clear, like someone used to seeing both calm days and hard days. This was Elias Thorne, though Leora did not know his name yet. Many settlers spoke of him. He owned Sunfall Ranch, the largest ranch on New Mesa. He grew crops where people once thought nothing could grow. He raised gentle animals designed to live in this new world. But most of all, he was known for being fair, patient, and thoughtful. Wealth did not change his heart. When he saw the small girl sitting alone, his hover horse slowed at once. He stopped a few steps away and climbed down, the hover horse lowering itself gracefully beside him. "You're alone out here," he said, his voice calm and warm. "Are you waiting for someone?" Leora nodded. My stepmother said she would return. She answered in a quiet voice that did not shake. I don't think she will. Elias looked at her for a long moment. He did not rush to speak. He did not show surprise or judgment. He simply took in the truth of the situation and the truth of her strength in facing it. You didn't try to run after her? He asked gently. My father said to watch the horizon, Leora replied, and that people will come. So I waited. Elias felt something shift inside his heart. This girl was young, but her spirit was steady. Many adults he had known did not hold themselves with such calm. He saw courage in her, not loud courage, but quiet courage, the kind that does not fade. What is your name? He asked. Leora, she said. My father built water lines for the colony. Elias smiled softly. I knew a man like that. A good man. Leora nodded once. He was. Elias looked at his hover horse, then back at her. Leora, he said kindly, you don't need to stay here anymore. Come with me. I have a place where travelers are welcome. You will be safe. You will not be alone. The hover horse shifted its stance and lowered so Leora could climb more easily. She stood, dusted her clothing with her small hands, picked up her bag, and climbed up with a quiet, graceful motion. Elias mounted behind her, steadying the reins. Thank you, Leora said softly. You don't need to thank me, Elias replied. Humans look after each other. That's how we crossed the stars in the first place. The hover horse rose, its legs humming softly, and began to travel back toward the west. The desert wind was gentle now, as if welcoming her to a new beginning. The horizon stretched ahead wide and open, just as her father had said. And though she did not smile outwardly, something warm and bright rose in her heart. She was not abandoned anymore. She was moving forward, toward a future that she would help build herself. Elias and Leora traveled across the open plains of New Mesa toward his ranch. The evening light spread across the land in soft colors of orange and pink. The hover horse moved smoothly, humming quietly beneath them. Leora watched the horizon with steady eyes. She did not feel afraid. She felt something new, something warm, something like hope. As they rode, Elias spoke in a calm voice that matched the peaceful rhythm of their journey. My ranch is called Sunfall Ranch, he said. It is a place where we try to build life on this new world. People work together there. We help each other. We learn from each other. Leora listened carefully. I would like to help, she answered softly. Elias smiled. I believe you will. They reached the ranch just as the sky shifted into early night. The ranch stretched across a wide open valley where gentle winds carried the scent of fresh grass. Small houses and barns were built from a mix of wood and light metal. Distant lights glowed from windows, warm and inviting. Several people were finishing their evening tasks. When they saw Elias return with a young girl, they paused, curious but welcoming. Elias introduced her simply. This is Leora, she will be staying with us. No one questioned him. They nodded kindly, offering smiles and friendly greetings. A woman with silver-streaked hair named Mira stepped forward. Welcome, Leora, she said warmly. We will make sure you have a room and food prepared. Leora bowed her head politely. Thank you very much. Mira led her to a small, comfortable room inside the main house. The room was simple but clean. A soft bed, a small desk, and a window that looked out at the fields. Leora placed her small bag and her star compass on the bedside table. She sat on the bed for a moment and looked outside. The stars were bright over the open plains. For the first time in many days, she slept peacefully. The next morning, Leora woke early. Sunlight gently entered through the window along with the sound of distant voices and morning work. She washed her face, straightened her clothes, and stepped outside. She saw workers guiding small animal herds and repairing machines. The air was fresh, carrying the smell of grass rather than dry dust. Elias was already awake, checking the irrigation system. When he saw Leora, he waved her over. Come, he said kindly. I will show you the ranch. They walked together across the land. He explained how the water lines kept the ground alive, how the crops grew, and how the animals were raised. Leora listened carefully, asking thoughtful questions. She remembered her father's hands working on pipes and tools. She remembered how he explained things to her slowly, making sure she understood. Elias saw how her eyes followed every detail. You learn quickly, he said. Leora nodded. My father taught me to notice things. That is a valuable skill, Elias replied. From that day forward, Leora began helping where she could. She learned how to guide the gentle ranch animals, how to adjust the irrigation machines, and how to read the weather patterns in the sky. She was small, but she worked with careful attention and quiet confidence. The people at the ranch admired her for her steady nature. Leora did not try to prove herself. She simply did what needed to be done. And that was enough. As the weeks passed, Leora began to smile more often. She learned the names of everyone at Sunfall Ranch. She shared meals with them, listened to their stories, and sometimes told small memories of her father. The workers respected her. They did not treat her as a guest. They treated her as part of the ranch, part of their community. Elias watched her growth with a gentle pride. He had brought her to Sunfall Ranch because he felt it was right. Now he saw it was more than right. It was meaningful. Leora brought quiet strength to the ranch. Her presence reminded everyone why they were building new lives on this distant world. Humanity had crossed the stars not only to survive, but to create places where hope could grow. Leora was proof of that hope. One day, while she was riding one of the hover horses to check the western fences, a small caravan arrived at the ranch. The travelers carried goods and news from other settlements. Among them, riding near the back, was Mara. Leora recognized her stepmother at once. Mara looked tired, not from the sun alone, but from the kind of heaviness that comes from choices one regrets. When Mara saw Leora, she paused. Her eyes widened slightly. She seemed surprised, not just to see the girl alive, but to see her standing with a calm posture, confident and unafraid. Mara stepped closer. "Leora, you are here." Leora nodded politely. "Yes, I live here now." Mara looked down for a moment, then said, "I did not mean for things to become difficult." Leora listened quietly. She did not interrupt. She did not show anger. She simply waited. Mara continued in a soft voice. "I was frightened. The journey was hard. I did not know what to do." Leora looked at her steadily. "I understand," she said. "The trail was long, but I waited and someone came." Mara looked around the ranch. She saw how the workers waved at Leora with respect. She saw Elias nearby, watching with gentle patience. She saw that the girl was not abandoned here. She was valued, supported, growing. "You are well," Mara said, almost as if she was reminding herself. "Yes," Leora answered. "I am learning many things. I have friends, and I help with the ranch." Mara took a slow breath. "I am glad for you," Leora nodded once. There was nothing more to say. She felt no bitterness. She did not need it. The past had already walked its path. The future was hers to walk now. Mara left with the caravan later that afternoon. The two did not part with tears or harsh words. They simply stepped into separate directions, each carrying their own lessons. Elias stepped beside Leora after Mara was gone. "Are you all right?" he asked gently. Leora nodded. "Yes, I am all right." He placed a steady hand on her shoulder. "You have grown strong." Leora looked up at him. "I had help." They shared a quiet moment, warm like the sunlight spread across the land. Time moved forward, and with it, Leora grew. She grew in knowledge, in spirit, and in confidence. She learned how to repair complex tools. She learned how to guide new settlers across difficult paths. She learned how to read the land like a map and the sky like a guide. The star compass her father gave her became more than a memory. She used it to create new travel routes for travelers. Where paths were unclear, she found the safest ones. Where people felt lost, she helped them feel steady. Word of her skill spread across New Mesa. Some people began to call her Trail Leora. Others called her the Girl of the Compass. But to Elias and the ranch workers, she was simply family. One evening, as the twin moons rose high and soft over the plains, Leora mounted her hover horse. She looked out across the open land. The horizon stretched wide before her, endless and full of promise. She felt strong. She felt calm. She felt ready for anything that would come next, for she knew something with certainty now. Humans do not thrive because life is easy. They thrive because they choose to help, to build, and to care. Leora had been left alone once, but she chose not to stay alone. She chose hope, and hope grew.